Document. Part 6. The mood aboard the Odyssey was tense and heavy, like a storm cloud pressing down on everyone. Accusations lingered in the air, unspoken but palpable, as each crew member eyed the others with suspicion. The encrypted messages had planted seeds of doubt that quickly took root, poisoning the fragile trust they had built. Alex stood at the center of it all, his jaw clenched as he tried to keep the group focused. But even he couldn't ignore the growing unease. "All right," Alex said finally, breaking the silence during their emergency meeting. "We don't have time for this. Whoever leaked those messages made a mistake, and we'll deal with it later. Right now, we stick to the mission." "Got it?" Mia crossed her arms, her sharp eyes darting between Ryan and Samira. "Easy for you to say," she muttered under her breath. "You're not the one being accused." "I'm not accusing anyone," Alex snapped, his patience wearing thin. "But if we let paranoia tear us apart, we're done before we even start. So unless someone wants to confess, we move forward. Together." The room fell silent, the weight of his words settling over them. Reluctantly, the crew nodded, though none of them looked entirely convinced. For now, they would set aside their suspicions, but the damage had been done. Later that night, Alex found himself pacing the bridge, unable to shake the feeling that something was still wrong. The artifact loomed outside the viewport, its crystalline surface glowing faintly in the darkness. It seemed almost serene, unaware, perhaps indifferent to the turmoil brewing within the ship. Alex stopped mid-step, his gaze fixed on the structure. There was something about it that felt familiar, not in a comforting way, but in a way that sent chills down his spine. He turned abruptly when he heard footsteps behind him. It was Samira, her face pale and drawn. She hesitated before speaking, as if unsure how to phrase what she wanted to say. "I think I know why the artifact reacts to music," she began cautiously. "It's not just because of the patterns or rhythms, it's emotional resonance." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Emotional resonance?" Samira nodded, pulling out her datapad. On the screen was a series of waveforms, each corresponding to one of the musical pieces they had played earlier. "Look at these readings," she explained. "Every time we sent a piece of music, the artifact responded differently, depending on the emotion conveyed. Joy, sadness, anger, it picks up on it and mirrors it back." Alex frowned, studying the data. "So you're saying it doesn't just hear the music, it feels it?" "In a way, yes," Samira replied. "And I think that's why it hasn't attacked us outright. Senses our intent through the emotions we project. When we play calm, hopeful music, it responds peacefully. But when tensions rise like during arguments, it becomes erratic." "That makes sense," Alex admitted slowly. "Which means we need to stay calm no matter what happens. If we let fear or anger take over, we risk provoking it." Samira hesitated, then added quietly, "There's more. Remember the encrypted messages? What if whoever sent them wasn't trying to sabotage us but to warn someone?" "What do you mean?" Alex asked sharply. "Think about it," Samira continued. "The artifact is intelligent, maybe even ancient. What if it's dangerous not just to us, but to everyone? Someone might be leaking information because they believe it's too risky to bring it back." Alex's mind raced. He hadn't considered that possibility. If the artifact posed a threat beyond their understanding, then the leak could have been motivated by caution rather than betrayal. But that didn't change the fact that whoever had done it had endangered the mission and possibly their lives. "We'll figure that out later," Alex said firmly. "For now, focus on the artifact. Keep analyzing its responses. Maybe there's a way to use this emotional connection to learn more about it." Samira nodded, though her expression remained troubled. As she left the bridge, Alex sighed heavily, rubbing his temples. This mission was becoming more complicated by the hour, and the stakes were higher than ever. They needed answers and fast. The next morning, the crew gathered once again to share updates. Mia reported that the ship's systems were holding steady, though she warned that prolonged exposure to the artifact's interference could cause permanent damage. Ryan shared his latest findings. The energy pulses emitted by the artifact carried traces of complex mathematical sequences, suggesting it was far more advanced than any technology humanity had encountered. Then it was Samira's turn. She stood before the group, her voice steady despite her earlier doubts. "I've been studying the artifact's responses to our music," she began, "and I think I've found something important. Each pulse contains fragments of what looks like language." "Language?" Mia interrupted skeptically. "How can you tell?" "Subtle," Samira explained. "But if you map the energy signatures, they form patterns similar to phonetic structures, like syllables or words. And some of them repeat consistently. Across different interactions." Ryan leaned forward, intrigued. "If it's language, then it's possible the artifact is trying to communicate specific ideas, not just emotions." "Exactly," Samira said. "I've started piecing together some of the recurring sequences. They seem to reference concepts like protection, warning, and survival." A chill ran through the room. Alex exchanged glances with the others, his mind racing. "Are you saying it's warning us about something?" "Maybe," Samira admitted. "Or maybe it's describing itself. Either way, I think the artifact is tied to some kind of larger purpose, one that involves defending against a threat." "Defending how?" Mia asked sharply. "By blowing up anyone who gets too close?" "No," Ryan interjected. "If it's a key tool designed to protect against whatever danger it's warning us about." Alex nodded slowly, considering the theory. "If that's true, then retrieving it isn't just about satisfying curiosity. It's about survival. Humanity, and maybe the entire galaxy." The realization hit them all at once, the gravity of their mission sinking in deeper than ever before. This wasn't just about solving a puzzle or proving humanity's worth. It was about uncovering a weapon or a shield that could save countless lives. With renewed determination, the crew redoubled their efforts. Samira worked tirelessly to decode the artifact's language, feeding it new combinations of sounds and emotions to elicit clearer responses. Ryan assisted by cross-referencing the energy readings with known biological and technological phenomena, searching for parallels. Meanwhile, Mia kept a close eye on the ship's systems, ensuring they wouldn't collapse under the strain of the artifact's influence. As the days passed, the artifact grew increasingly responsive. Its pulses became less erratic and more deliberate, as if it were guiding them toward something. One evening, while playing a haunting melody from Earth's classical repertoire, Samira noticed a significant shift in its behavior. Instead of mimicking the music, the artifact projected a series of intricate patterns directly into the ship's sensors. "It's showing us something," Samira whispered, her hands trembling as she adjusted the equipment. "Look." On the monitor appeared a holographic image of star map, unlike anything they had seen before. At its center was a pulsating red dot, surrounded by swirling lines that resembled gravitational forces. The artifact pulsed again, and another layer of information overlaid the map, symbols resembling warnings written in its strange language. Ryan studied the display intently. "This must be the threat it's warning us about." The red dots moving toward populated areas. Alex's blood ran cold.
"How long do we have?"
Ryan hesitated, calculating. "Depends on its speed. Weeks, maybe months. It reaches those systems." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Implications were clear. Entire planets would be wiped out unless they acted quickly. Samira spoke up, her voice quiet but urgent. "And the artifact hits the key to stopping it. That's why it's here, to help us prepare." Alex took a deep breath, letting the enormity of the situation sink in. They weren't just explorers anymore. They were guardians, entrusted with a responsibility far greater than themselves. Whatever fears or doubts they harbored, they would have to set them aside. The galaxy was counting on them. "All right," Alex said finally, his tone resolute. "Here's the plan. We retrieve the artifact and return to Earth immediately. Along the way, we'll decipher as much of its language as we can. Once we're home, we'll present this to the Galactic Council and figure out how to stop the threat." The crew nodded, united by a shared sense of purpose. For the first time since discovering the encrypted messages, the tension eased slightly. They still didn't fully trust each other, but they trusted the mission. And for now, that was enough. As the Odyssey prepared to depart Proxima Centauri, Alex glanced one last time at the artifact. Its light shimmered softly, almost reassuringly, as if acknowledging their resolve. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Flawed, unpredictable, and undeniably human, they were ready to prove that sometimes. The most terrifying qualities could also be the strongest. Document. Part 1. In the dim glow of neon lights flickering across the crowded spaceport on Mars. Alex Carter stood leaning against a metal railing. The air smelled faintly of ozone and burnt fuel, a scent that had become second nature to anyone who spent enough time traveling through the stars. Around him, the chaotic symphony of voices, footsteps, and machinery created a constant hum. People from all corners of the galaxy moved with purpose, some hauling cargo crates, others rushing to catch departing ships. It was a place where dreams were launched and sometimes shattered. Alex wasn't paying much attention to the commotion around him. His sharp blue eyes were fixed on the small screen embedded in his wristband, scrolling through updates about maintenance schedules for his ship. At 32, he'd already earned a reputation as one of the best pilots in the system. His name was whispered in hushed tones among those who valued daring maneuvers over cautious calculations. But despite his success, Alex carried an edge of restlessness, like someone always waiting for the next challenge. The wristband buzzed suddenly, breaking his focus. A message flashed across the screen, a priority alert marked urgent. Frowning, Alex tapped the notification. Instantly, a holographic projection appeared above his wristband, displaying the stern face of Commander Laura Hayes. She was a no-nonsense leader known for her piercing gaze and clipped tone. Her dark hair was pulled back into a tight bun, and even through the hologram, she exuded authority. Carter, she began without preamble, I need you at HQ immediately. This isn't optional. Alex raised an eyebrow, but didn't argue. He knew better than to question Laura when she used that tone. On my way, he replied simply before cutting the connection. Sliding the wristband back onto his arm, he pushed off the railing and made his way toward the exit. The crowd parted slightly as people recognized him, some nodding respectfully, others whispering behind their hands. Alex ignored them all. He had long since grown accustomed to the mix of admiration and envy that followed him wherever he went. The headquarters building loomed ahead, its sleek silver facade standing out against the gritty backdrop of the spaceport. Inside, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Gone was the chaos of the port. Here, everything was clean and orderly, with polished floors reflecting the soft white light overhead. Alex passed through security checkpoints with ease, his credentials granting him unrestricted access. Finally, he reached Laura's office, where the door slid open automatically as he approached. Laura was seated behind a wide desk littered with datapads and glowing screens. She looked up as Alex entered, gesturing for him to sit. Without wasting time on pleasantries, she leaned forward and spoke. We've got a situation, she said, her voice low and serious. An alien artifact has been discovered orbiting Proxima Centauri. It's unlike anything we've encountered before. Our reconnaissance drones have gathered some data, but every attempt to retrieve it has ended in failure. Alex frowned, intrigued despite himself. What kind of failure? Laura hesitated briefly before answering. The drones malfunctioned. Their systems went haywire the moment they got close to the artifact. Whatever it is, it's interfering with our technology, and not just ours. Several AI-controlled vessels, sent by other factions, suffered similar fates. We're dealing with something unpredictable. Alex crossed his arms, his mind racing. So why call me? You know I don't do rescue missions. Laura gave him a pointed look, because humanity's most advanced machines couldn't handle it. The Galactic Council believes this requires a human touch, creativity, intuition, adaptability, qualities robots lack, but humans excel at. He let out a short laugh, shaking his head. You're telling me the Council thinks flawed, emotional, humans are better suited for this than perfect machines? They do, Laura confirmed. And honestly, I agree. Machines follow logic. Humans thrive in uncertainty. That's why you're here, Carter. You're the best pilot we've got. And if anyone can figure out how to approach this thing safely, it's you." For a moment, Alex said nothing. He stared at Laura, weighing her words. On one hand, this sounded like a suicide mission, or at least one destined to fail spectacularly. On the other hand, the challenge ignited a spark of excitement deep within him. If there was one thing Alex loved more than flying, it was solving problems that seemed impossible. What makes them so sure humans can succeed where machines failed? He asked finally. Laura shrugged. Maybe because humans are terrifyingly adaptable. Maybe because we're stubborn enough to keep trying, even when logic says we should quit. Either way, the council has decided to bet on US for better, or worse. Alex leaned back in his chair, considering. "All right," he said after a pause. "Let's say I agree to this. What's the plan?" Laura smiled faintly, sensing victory. "First, you'll need a team. Not just any crew, though. Specialists capable of handling whatever surprises this artifact might throw at us.
Oh.
Leave the selection process to you, but choose wisely. Once you're ready, you'll depart for Proxima Centauri aboard the Odyssey. It's one of our fastest ships, equipped with everything you'll need, including redundancies, in case the artifact decides to play tricks again." Nodding slowly, Alex stood up. "I'll get started right away." As he left the office, his mind was already working through potential candidates. He needed people who could think on their feet, who wouldn't panic when things inevitably went sideways. People who shared his blend of recklessness and determination. For the first time in months, Alex felt truly alive. This mission might be dangerous, maybe even deadly. But it was exactly the kind of challenge he thrived on. Back at the spaceport, Alex flagged down a transport pod to take him to the recruitment center. Along the way, he couldn't help but wonder what they would find waiting for them near Proxima Centauri. Was the artifact a treasure trove of knowledge? A weapon? Something entirely beyond comprehension? Whatever it was, Alex knew one thing for certain. The journey ahead would test every ounce of skill, courage, and ingenuity he and his future crew possessed. And that thought, more than anything else, filled him with a strange mix of dread and exhilaration. Document. Part 2. The recruitment center was a sprawling complex filled with rows of holographic displays, each showing profiles of potential candidates. Alex moved through the space with purpose, his boots clicking softly against the polished floor. The air smelled faintly of metal and static electricity, a reminder of the countless hours spent processing applications in this very building. Around him, other recruiters chatted quietly or tapped away at glowing screens, but Alex ignored them all. He had one goal: assembling the perfect team. He started by pulling up a list of recommendations, provided by Commander Laura Hayes. Each name came with glowing endorsements, but Alex knew better than to rely solely on credentials. What mattered most wasn't what someone had done in the past, it was how they handled themselves under pressure, whether they could adapt when things went wrong. And judging by the failures of the reconnaissance drones and AI ships near the artifact, things were bound to go very wrong. His first stop was a workstation displaying the profile of Mia Torres. A photo showed a woman in her late 20s with sharp features, dark eyes, and hair pulled back into a tight ponytail. According to her file, she was an engineer, renowned for her ability to improvise solutions in high-stakes situations. Her record included repairing damaged ships mid-flight and designing custom modifications that saved entire missions. But beneath the accomplishments lay hints of something darker, a note about trust issues stemming from a betrayal during a previous assignment. Alex studied the information carefully before making his decision. "Mia Torres," he said aloud, tapping the screen to send an invitation. If anyone could keep their ship running, despite whatever surprises the artifact threw at them, it was her next. He turned his attention to Ryan Bennett. The biologist's profile picture showed a man with warm brown eyes and a slightly disheveled appearance, as though he'd been interrupted mid-experiment. His expertise lay in studying extraterrestrial life forms, particularly those considered hostile or dangerous. One entry caught Alex's eye. Ryan had successfully identified the weak points of a parasitic organism threatening a colony, allowing scientists to develop a countermeasure. However, There was also mention of personal tragedy. His family had perished in a failed colonization effort years ago. Since then, Ryan had thrown himself into his work, seemingly avoiding anything resembling emotional attachment. Alex hesitated only briefly before adding Ryan to the roster. They'd need someone who understood alien biology if the artifact turned out to be alive or worse. Toned. Finally, his gaze landed on Samira Khan. Her profile described her as a linguist, specializing in decoding unknown languages, a skill set that seemed almost too niche until Alex remembered the strange energy pulses emitted by the artifact. If communication became necessary, and given the unpredictable nature of the mission, likely they'd need someone capable of interpreting signals others might dismiss as noise. Samira's calm demeanor and photos contrasted sharply, with notes about recurring self-doubt, which occasionally hindered her confidence in high-pressure scenarios. Despite her insecurities, Alex decided to take the risk. "She'd do," he muttered, sending her an invitation as well. With the initial selections made, Alex stepped outside the recruitment center to clear his head. The Martian sky stretched above him, its reddish hue tinged with streaks of gold. From the setting sun, he leaned against the wall, letting the cool breeze wash over him as he thought about the people he'd chosen. Each brought unique strengths, but also carried baggage that could complicate matters. Trusting them wouldn't come as a lean not for him, and probably not for them either. Still, he reminded himself that perfection wasn't the goal. Survival was. Over the next few days, responses trickled in. To Alex's relief, all three accepted the invitation without hesitation. Their eagerness surprised him. Most people would balk at joining such a risky mission. Then again, maybe they saw the same opportunity he did, a chance to prove themselves, to make a difference in a universe that often felt indifferent. The first meeting took place aboard the Odyssey, docked at the edge of the spaceport. Its sleek design gleamed under the artificial lights, every surface polished to perfection. As Alex led his new crew inside, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of pride. This ship was state-of-the-art, equipped with advanced navigation systems, reinforced hull plating, and redundancies built into nearly every component. It was designed to handle anything the galaxy could throw at, including unpredictable human emotions. Inside the briefing room, the three specialists sat around a circular table, exchanging curious glances. Mia was the first to speak. "You're Alex Carter?" she said, her tone measured, but edged with skepticism. "I've heard stories." "All true," Alex replied with a smirk, earning a raised eyebrow from Mia. He turned his attention to the group. "Before we get into details, let's establish one thing. I'm not here to babysit anyone. We're going into uncharted territory, and mistakes will cost us our lives. You can't handle that? Leave now." No one moved. "Good, Alex." Continued, "Here's what we know so far. There's an alien artifact orbiting Proxima Centauri. Every attempt to retrieve it has ended in failure, machines malfunction, AI ships crash, and no one knows why. That's where we come in. Our job is simple. Figure out what this thing is, bring it back, and stay alive while doing it." Leaned forward, his expression intense. "What kind of failures are we talking about? Mechanical? Electrical?" "Both," Alex answered, "and possibly more. Some reports mention interference with neural interfaces. Whatever this artifact is, it doesn't play nice with technology or logic." Samira frowned, her fingers tracing patterns on the tabletop. "If it's interfering with machines, does that mean it's intelligent or just reactive?" "That's something we'll have to find out," Alex said. "Which brings me to roles. Mia, you're responsible for keeping this ship operational. If something breaks, it will you fix it. Ryan, your job is to analyze any biological aspects of the artifact. Assume it's alive until proven otherwise." And Samira paused, meeting her gaze. "You're our best shot at understanding it. If it tries to communicate, that means deciphering signals, patterns, anything that looks like language." Samira nodded slowly, though her knuckles whitened as she gripped the edge of the table. "Understood." Mia crossed her arms, her sharp eyes narrowing. "And what about you? What's your role?" Alex smirked. "I fly the ship and make sure." None of you get yourselves killed." The tension in the room eased slightly, replaced by cautious curiosity. For now at least, they were united by a shared sense of purpose. But Alex knew better than to assume harmony would last. Missions like this had a way of exposing cracks in even the strongest teams. As the meeting concluded, Alex gave them time to settle into their quarters. He wandered through the corridors of the Odyssey, checking systems and familiarizing himself with the layout. Despite the ship's advanced design, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Maybe it was the lack of personality. Everything was so sterile, so clinical. Machines didn't inspire loyalty or camaraderie. Humans did, and humans were messy. Later that evening, Alex found Mia in the engineering bay, already poring over schematics. She glanced up as he entered, her expression unreadable. "Something wrong?" she asked. "No," Alex replied. "Just wanted to see how things were coming along." Mia shrugged. "Everything checks out for now. But I won't lie, Carter. This feels off. Too many unknowns." "We specialize in unknowns," Alex said lightly. "That's why we're here," Mia snorted. "Yeah, well, let's hope we're as good as everyone says we are." Her words lingered in Alex's mind long after he left the bay. He knew she was right. This mission would push them all to their limits, forcing them to confront not only external threats, but internal doubts as well. Yet deep down, he believed they could succeed. It's not because they were perfect, but because they weren't. Flawed, it's unpredictable, and undeniably human. They embodied the very qualities the Galactic Council had bet on, as the Odyssey prepared. For departure, Alex stood on the bridge, watching the stars stretch endlessly beyond the viewport. Beside him, the rest of the crew gathered, each lost in their own thoughts. For a moment, silence reigned, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's engines powering up. Then with a jolt, the Odyssey launched into the void, leaving Mars behind. Ahead lay the vast expanse of space, filled with mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Alex tightened his grip on the controls, steeling himself for whatever challenges lay ahead. They were ready, or as ready as they'd ever be. Document. Part 3. The journey to Proxima Centauri was long, and the Odyssey moved silently through the endless void of space. Inside the ship, the hum of the engines provided a constant background noise, a reminder that they were hurtling toward the unknown. For Alex and his crew, the days blurred together in a mix of preparation, tension, and quiet moments of reflection. Each member had their own way of coping with the weight of what lay ahead. Mia spent most of her time in the engineering bay, running diagnostics and tweaking systems. She worked methodically, her hands moving with precision as she adjusted circuits and checked power levels. To an outsider, she might have seemed calm. But Alex noticed the slight furrow in her brow whenever something didn't align perfectly. Mia wasn't just preparing for potential malfunctions. She was trying to control everything she could, as if by doing so, she could keep chaos at bay. Ryan, on the other hand, immersed himself in research. He pored over data collected by the reconnaissance drones that had failed near the artifact. Information was fragmented, incomplete, but Ryan pieced it together like a puzzle. His quarters became cluttered with holographic projections of strange energy signatures, biological scans, and theoretical models. Sometimes he muttered to himself, lost in thought, while other times he stared out the window at the stars. His expression distant. It was clear he was haunted by more than just the mission. He carried the ghosts of his past failures and losses. Samira found solace in patterns. She spent hours analyzing the strange pulses emitted by the artifact, recorded. During earlier attempts to approach it, her workstation was filled with charts, graphs, and audio clips of the faint, rhythmic signals. At first glance, they seemed random, but Samira believed there was meaning hidden within them. She listened intently, replaying segments over and over until her ears rang. Despite her determination, doubt gnawed at her. What if she missed something? What if the artifact's language was beyond human comprehension? Alex tried to keep the crew focused. He held daily briefings on the bridge, going over plans, discussing contingencies, and addressing concerns. But even he couldn't ignore the growing unease aboard the Odyssey. The closer they got to the artifact, the more unpredictable things became. Strange glitches started occurring. Minor at first, like flickering lights or delayed responses from the ship's AI systems. Then came the dreams. It began with Alex. One night, as he drifted off to sleep, he found himself standing in a vast, dark expanse. Before him loomed the artifact, its crystalline surface shimmering with an otherworldly light. He reached out instinctively, but the moment his fingers brushed against it, pain shot through his body. He woke with a start, drenched in sweat, his heart pounding. First he dismissed it as stress, nothing more. But when Mia mentioned having a similar dream the next day, Alex grew uneasy. I saw it too, she admitted reluctantly during breakfast. It felt real, like I was actually there. Ryan nodded grimly.
Oh.
Same here. Except in my dream, it wasn't just the artifact. There were shapes moving around it, watching me. Samira hesitated before speaking. I dreamed about it last night too, but mine was different. I heard voices, or maybe just one voice, repeating the same phrase over and over. I couldn't understand it, but it sounded urgent. The revelation unsettled everyone. Were these dreams coincidental, or was the artifact somehow reaching out to them? Alex didn't have answers, but he knew one thing. They needed to stay vigilant. Whatever awaited them near Proxima Centauri, it was already beginning to affect them. As the days passed, the glitches worsened. Navigation systems occasionally veered off course without explanation. Communication channels crackled with static, making conversations difficult. Even the temperature controls faltered, leaving certain areas of the ship uncomfortably warm or cold. Mia worked tirelessly to address the issues, but no matter how many fixes she implemented, new problems kept cropping up. It's like the ship is fighting back, Mia muttered one evening as she tinkered with a malfunctioning console. Or maybe it's not the ship at all. Alex leaned against the wall, arms crossed. You think the artifact's doing this? I don't know what else to think, Mia replied. We're still weeks away from reaching it, but its influence feels stronger every day. Ryan joined them, holding a datapad filled with notes. If it's alive, and I'm starting to believe it is, it might be testing us. Seeing how we react under pressure? Testing us for what? Alex asked sharply. And why now? Ryan shook his head. I wish I knew, but whatever it wants, it's playing games. And we're part of them, whether we like it or not. Despite the mounting challenges, the crew pressed on. They had no choice. The mission was too important to abandon, yet cracks began to form in their unity. Tensions simmered beneath the surface, fueled by exhaustion, fear, and uncertainty. Small disagreements escalated quickly, turning into heated arguments. One afternoon, Akima snapped at Ryan after he questioned her repair methods. If you think you can do better, then go ahead, she shouted. But don't come crying to me. When your brilliant ideas fail, Ryan flushed with anger. My ideas aren't failing because I'm second-guessing myself. Maybe you should stop being so defensive and actually listen for once. Alex intervened before things spiraled further. Enough, he barked, stepping between them. You don't have time for this. You two need to figure it out, or I'll replace you both. The warning silenced them, but the resentment lingered. Later, Alex pulled Mia aside privately. What's going on with you? He asked. This isn't like you, Mia sighed, rubbing her temples. I'm sorry, okay? I'm just stressed. Every time I fix something, something else breaks. It's like the ship doesn't trust me anymore. That's not true, Alex said firmly. And you know it. We're all feeling the strain. But we can't let it tear us apart. Got it? Mia nodded reluctantly, though her eyes betrayed lingering frustration. Meanwhile, Samira struggled with her own doubts. The repetitive voice from her dream haunted her waking thoughts, echoing in her mind whenever she analyzed the artifact's pulses. She began isolating herself, spending hours alone in her quarters, replaying recordings and searching for meaning. When Alex checked on her one evening, he found her staring blankly at a screen filled with indecipherable symbols. How's it coming? He asked gently. Samir looked up, startled. Not well, she admitted. I feel like I'm missing something obvious, like the answer is right in front of me, but I can't see it. You're doing fine, Alex reassured her. Just take it one step at a time. We'll get there together. His words offered little comfort, but Samira appreciated the effort. Slowly, she returned to her work, determined to push through. The frustration. Finally, after weeks of travel, the Odyssey approached Proxima Centauri. The artifact came into view, a massive crystalline structure floating serenely in the emptiness of space. Its surface refracted light in dazzling patterns, creating the illusion of movement. As the crew gathered on the bridge to observe it, a collective hush fell over them. "It's beautiful," Samira whispered, awe evident in her voice. "And terrifying," Ryan added, his tone subdued. Alex studied the artifact carefully, his jaw tightening. "All right, team, this is it. Stay sharp and stick to the plan. Remember, we don't know what we're dealing with yet. Assume the worst until proven otherwise." Mia nodded, her earlier frustrations momentarily forgotten. "Understood. I'll monitor the ship's systems closely. If anything goes wrong, I'll shut it down immediately." "Good," Alex said. "Ryan, prepare to analyze any biological readings. Samira, keep working on those pulses. See if you can find a pattern or establish communication." With roles assigned, the crew sprang into action. The Odyssey edged closer to the artifact, its scanners probing for weaknesses or points of entry. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently, throwing everyone off balance. Alarms blared as red warning lights flashed across the bridge. "What's happening?" Alex demanded, gripping the controls. "It's the artifact." Mia shouted frantically, typing commands into her console. "It's emitting some kind of pulse interfering with our systems." "Shut it down," Alex ordered. "I'm trying," Mia yelled back, sweat beading on her forehead. "But it's overriding my commands." The artifact pulsed again, brighter. This time, and the entire ship went dark. For a few agonizing seconds, silence reigned. Then, slowly, emergency power kicked in, bathing the bridge in dim red light. "We've lost primary propulsion," Mia reported grimly. "Life support is stable for now, but we're drifting." Alex clenched his fists, his mind racing. "Okay?" A chorus of affirmatives answered him, though the tension in the air was palpable. Ryan spoke up, his voice steady despite the situation. "Whatever that pulse was, it wasn't random. It targeted specific systems." Samira nodded, her face pale. "It's getting stronger. Look," she pointed to a monitor displaying the artifact's energy readings. They were spiking erratically, forming patterns that resembled the ones. From her dreams, Alex took a deep breath, forcing himself to remain calm. "Okay, here's what we're going to do, Mia. Focus on restoring basic functions. Right. Help her identify which systems are most vulnerable. Samira, keep analyzing those patterns. Find a way to predict the next pulse." The crew sprang into motion, working together with renewed urgency. Despite the setbacks, a sense of purpose, Document. Part 4. The Odyssey drifted silently in the shadow of the artifact. Its systems crippled but not entirely dead. The crew worked feverishly to regain control, their movements sharp and deliberate despite the weight of exhaustion, pressing down on them. Alex stood at the center of the chaos, his eyes scanning the dimly lit bridge as alarms continued to blare faintly in the background. Every second felt like an eternity. Each decision carrying the potential for disaster. Mia was hunched over her console, fingers flying across the keyboard as she tried to reboot critical systems. Her face was pale, beads of sweat forming on her forehead, but her focus never wavered. "I've isolated the affected circuits," she called out, her voice strained. "But the artifact's interference is still overriding my commands. It's like it knows what I'm trying to do before I even try." "Keep at it," Alex replied firmly. He turned to Ryan, who was assisting Mia by analyzing energy fluctuations. "Ryan, any luck figuring out how this thing operates?" Ryan shook his head, frustration etched into his features. "It's unlike anything I've ever seen. The pulses aren't random. They're structured almost. Intentional. If I didn't know better, I'd say it's learning from us." Samira, seated nearby with headphones clamped over her ears, suddenly gasped. She pulled them off and looked up, her expression a mix of excitement and dread. "Guys, listen to this." She tapped a button, and a low, rhythmic hum filled the room. It sounded mechanical, yet oddly organic, like the heartbeat of some ancient machine. "What is that?" Alex asked, stepping closer. "It's part of the artifact signal," Samira explained.
Oh.
"I've been isolating fragments of it, and this sequence keeps repeating. It's too consistent to be random noise. I think it might be a form of communication." Alex frowned. "You mean it's trying to talk to us?" "Not exactly talk," Samira clarified. "More like reaching out. But if it is communicating, we need to figure out how to respond. Otherwise, it'll keep attacking our systems." Ryan leaned forward, intrigued. "If it's alive or, at least semi-sentient, then maybe it sees us as a threat. We should approach it carefully, show that we're not here to harm it." Mia snorted, her tone bitter. "Great plan, except we can't move. Our ship's barely holding together thanks to whatever it did." Before anyone could respond, the artifact pulsed again, bathing the Odyssey in a soft, eerie glow. This time, instead of disabling more systems, the pulse seemed to resonate through the ship, vibrating gently against the walls. It wasn't aggressive. It felt almost curious, probing. Samira closed her eyes, listening intently. When she opened them again, her voice was quiet but urgent. "It's changing. The pattern is shifting, like it's reacting to something." "To what?" Alex demanded. "I don't know," Samira admitted. "Maybe to us, to how we're behaving." Alex hesitated, then made a decision. "All right, everyone, stop what you're doing. Let's see if it responds to calmness instead of panic." Crew exchanged uncertain glances but obeyed. Mia stepped back from her console, though her hands twitched as if itching to dive back in. Ryan straightened up, his posture relaxed but alert. Even Alex took a deep breath, letting go of the tension coiled in his shoulders. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the artifact's glow softened, its pulsing becoming less erratic and more rhythmic. "It's working," Samira whispered, her voice trembling with awe. "It's calming down." Encouraged, Alex spoke aloud, his tone measured. and steady. We're not here to hurt you. We're explorers trying to understand. Can you let us get closer? To everyone's astonishment, the artifact responded not with words, but with another pulse that carried a subtle shift in rhythm. Samira adjusted her equipment, capturing the new sequence. It's responding to sound, she said excitedly. Maybe it interprets vibrations as language. Then let's give it something to work with, Alex suggested. Turning to Samira, he added, play back one of the patterns you recorded earlier. Something simple. Samira nodded and selected a short sequence from her recordings. With a press of a button, the hum echoed through the ship once more, reverberating outward toward the artifact. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the artifact pulsed again, mimicking the same rhythm before adding a variation of its own. It's replying, Samira exclaimed, her earlier doubts replaced by exhilaration. It's adapting to our input. Ryan leaned in, studying. The energy readings. This confirms it's intelligent, or at least capable of basic interaction. Mia crossed her arms, skepticism still lingering in her gaze. So now what? We just keep playing musical chairs with it until it decides to blow us up. No, Alex said firmly. We use this. If it understands patterns, then maybe we can establish a baseline for communication. Samira, keep feeding it sequences. Start simple and build from there. Ryan, monitor its responses. Are they getting more complex? Mia, focus on stabilizing the ship while we have this window of calm. The team sprang into action, their earlier discord replaced by a shared determination. Over the next few hours, Samira experimented with different combinations of tones and rhythms. Each response grew slightly more intricate, as if the artifact were testing their ability to adapt. Ryan noted that the energy signatures accompanying these pulses seemed to carry emotional undertones, curiosity, caution, even hints of approval. Meanwhile, Mia managed to restore partial power to the ship's navigation systems. Though the Odyssey remained immobilized, the prospect of regaining mobility gave the crew hope. As she worked, she couldn't help but glance occasionally at the artifact, her initial hostility giving way to grudging respect. This thing is smarter than we thought, she muttered to Alex during a brief lull. Smarter than most machines and definitely smarter than some people I've worked with. Alex chuckled softly, though his expression remained serious. Let's not underestimate it. Intelligence doesn't always mean friendliness. The end of the day, the crew had established a rudimentary form of communication with the artifact. While they hadn't uncovered its purpose or origin, they had learned one crucial detail. It recognized intent. Aggression provoked retaliation, while calmness and curiosity invited dialogue. The realization filled Alex with both relief and unease. They had taken the first step toward understanding the artifact. But understanding was only half the battle. As the crew gathered for a quick meal in the mess hall, the conversation turned reflective. Ryan stirred his synthetic coffee absently, his brow furrowed. Do you think it knows why we're here? He asked. Or does it see us as invaders? Hard to say, Alex replied. But if it's intelligent enough to communicate, it probably has motives of its own. We need to tread carefully, Samira nodded, picking at her food. What if it's not just curious about us? What if it's waiting for something specific? Like what? Mia challenged. A password. Ritual? Some kind of cosmic riddle? Maybe, Samira said quietly. Or maybe it's testing us to see if we're worthy of whatever it's guarding. The suggestion hung heavy in the air, unspoken fears bubbling beneath the surface. None of them voiced it aloud, but they all knew the stakes. Failure could mean destruction, not just for the Odyssey, but potentially for humanity itself. Yet amidst the danger, there was also a sense of wonder, a reminder that they were standing on the brink of something extraordinary. When they returned to the bridge later that night, the artifact greeted them with another pulse, softer this time, almost inviting. Alex stared at it, his mind racing with possibilities. Whatever secrets the artifact held, they were within reach if they could prove themselves worthy of uncovering them. We'll figure this out, he said, finally breaking the silence. His voice carried conviction, not just for the others, but for himself, together. And for the first time since leaving Mars, the crew believed him. Document Part 5. The next morning aboard the Odyssey began with a fragile sense of progress. The artifact's pulses had grown quieter overnight, almost as if it were waiting for the crew to make the next move. Alex stood on the bridge, staring out at the crystalline structure that loomed large in the viewport. Its surface shimmered faintly, reflecting the light of Proxima Centauri like a prism suspended in space. Despite its beauty, there was an undeniable tension in the air, a feeling that they were being watched. Mia entered the bridge carrying a datapad filled with updates on the ship's status. Her expression was guarded but less hostile than usual. I've stabilized the navigation systems, she reported, handing the device to Alex. We can move again, though I recommend we take it slow. One wrong move, and we might lose control completely. Alex nodded, scanning the data briefly before setting it aside. Good work. Keep monitoring everything closely. If anything feels off, let me know immediately. Will do, Mia replied. Her tone clipped but professional. She lingered for a moment, glancing toward the artifact. Do you really think we can communicate with it, or are we just wasting our time? We don't have another option, Alex said simply. If it's intelligent, everything so far suggests it is. Then talking is our best shot at figuring out why it's here and what it wants. Mia didn't respond, but her silence spoke volumes. She turned and left the bridge, her boots clicking softly against the floor. Alex watched her go, noting the slight slump in her shoulders. For all her sharp edges and quick temper, Mia carried a weight he couldn't fully understand. He made a mental note to check in with her later. In the meantime, Ryan and Samira were already hard at work in the lab. They had set up a makeshift workstation near the observation window, their equipment scattered across the table. Ryan was poring over energy readings while Samira experimented with new sound patterns to send to the artifact. Their collaboration had become seamless over the past few days, each playing off the other's strengths without needing to say much. I think I've isolated a recurring motif in its responses, Samira said, pointing to a waveform displayed. On one of the monitors, it keeps repeating this sequence after every interaction. It's subtle, but consistent. Ryan leaned closer, his brow furrowed. Could it be a form of identification, like a signature or calling card? It's possible, Samira admitted. Or maybe it's trying to establish trust. Either way, it's significant. As they debated the meaning behind the artifact's behavior, Alex joined them, bringing fresh coffee and a renewed sense of purpose. "How's it going?" he asked, handing them each a steaming cup. "We're making progress," Ryan said, taking a sip, "but it's slow. Every time we think we've figured something out, the artifact throws us a curveball. What makes it interesting?" Alex quipped, though his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Any ideas on how to speed things up?" Samira hesitated, then spoke carefully. "What if we try something more personal? So far we've been using abstract patterns and tones. But what if we sent it something human?" "Like what?" Alex asked, intrigued. "Music," Samira suggested. "Something emotional, something universal. Humans have used music to connect with each other for centuries. Maybe the artifact will respond to that too." Ryan nodded thoughtfully. "It's worth a shot. Music has structure and rhythm, which aligns with how the artifact seems to process information." Alex considered the idea, then gave a decisive nod. "All right, let's try it. Do we have anything preloaded on the ship?" Samira grinned slightly. "Actually, yes. I brought some files from Earth. Classical pieces, mostly. They're timeless, perfect for testing." Within minutes, the first notes of Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 filled the lab. The melody was rich and powerful, resonating through the speakers and drifting out into the void beyond the ship. Everyone held their breath, watching the artifact intently. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the artifact began to pulse in sync with the music, its light flickering in harmony with the crescendos and decrescendos. "It's responding," Samira exclaimed, her voice tinged with excitement. "Look at the energy readings, they're mirroring the composition." Ryan quickly adjusted the sensors to capture the artifact's reaction. "This is incredible. It's not just mimicking the sound, it's interpreting it, adding layers of its own." Alex felt a surge of hope. For the first time, they weren't just communicating, they were connecting. The artifact wasn't simply reacting, it was engaging, as if it understood the emotion behind the music. When the symphony ended, the artifact pulsed brightly once more before falling silent. "Well, that worked better than I expected," Alex said, breaking the stunned silence. "Let's keep going. Try different genres, different styles. See how far we can push this." Over the next several hours, the crew experimented with various musical pieces. From jazz improvisations to traditional folk songs, each selection elicited a unique response from the artifact. Some triggered rapid bursts of energy, while others produced slow, contemplative pulses. By the end of the day, they had amassed a wealth of data, enough to begin deciphering the artifact's language. But as the initial excitement wore off, cracks in the team's unity began to resurface. Tension simmered beneath the surface, fueled by fatigue and the growing pressure of their mission. During a break, Mia confronted Ryan in the engineering bay, her frustration boiling over. "You're spending too much time on this nonsense," she snapped, gesturing toward the lab where Ryan and Samira had been working. "We should be focusing on fixing the ship, not playing DJ for a hunk of rock." "It's not a hunk of rock," Ryan retorted, his patience wearing thin. "It's alive, Mia. Or at least semi-sentient. We need to understand it if we want to survive." "And what happens when your little science project gets us killed?" Mia shot back. "No. You think the artifact cares about your theories?" "Dangerous, Ryan. We're poking a sleeping dragon." Before Ryan could respond, Alex stepped into the room, having overheard the argument. "Enough," he said sharply, his tone brooking no dissent. "Both of you need to cool it. Arguing won't fix anything." Mia crossed her arms, glaring at him. "You're letting them waste resources on experiments instead of preparing for real threats. What happens when the artifact decides it doesn't like our playlist?" "She's right about one thing," Ryan admitted reluctantly. "We're running out of time. If we don't find a way to stabilize the situation soon, the artifact might turn on us." Alex sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Then we double down. Music got us this far, we'll use it to go further. But Mia's. Right. Two, the ship needs to be ready for anything. Let's split our efforts. Mia. Focus on reinforcing critical systems. Ryan and Samira keep analyzing the artifact's responses. We'll meet back here in 6 hours to regroup. The crew dispersed, each retreating to their respective tasks. As the hours passed, the atmosphere aboard the Odyssey grew heavier. The artifact's pulses became sporadic, sometimes responding to their attempts at communication, other times remaining eerily silent. Frustration mounted and tempers flared once again. Late that evening, during a routine check of the ship's logs, Samira stumbled upon something unsettling. Hidden deep within the system was a series of encrypted messages, messages that shouldn't have existed. Her heart raced as she decrypted them, revealing fragments of conversations between someone aboard the Odyssey and an unknown external source, Alex. She called urgently, her voice trembling. "You need to see this." He arrived moments later, his expression darkening as he read the contents of the messages. They contained detailed descriptions of the artifact's behavior, along with speculation about its purpose. Whoever had sent them clearly knew more than they should, and worse, they were sharing that knowledge with someone outside the crew. "Who did this?" Alex demanded. His voice low and dangerous. Samurai shook her head. "I don't know. Encryption is sophisticated. It's designed to hide the sender's identity." Suspicion spread like wildfire among the crew. Accusations flew, with Mia pointing fingers at Ryan, and Ryan accusing Mia of withholding secrets. Even Samira found herself under scrutiny, her earlier self-doubt morphing into paranoia. Already fragile began to crumble. Alex called Anne. "Emergency meeting on the bridge," his face grim. "Listen up," he said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Someone on this ship is leaking information. Till we figure out who, we operate under the assumption that none of us can be trusted." "Completely." "Got it?" The crew nodded reluctantly, though the tension in the room was palpable. For now, they would continue their mission, but the shadow of betrayal hung over them, threatening to unravel everything they had worked for. As Alex stared out at the artifact once more, couldn't shake the feeling that they were being tested not just by the alien structure, but by themselves. Flawed, unpredictable, and undeniably human. They embodied both the greatest strength and the greatest weakness of their species. And in that moment, Alex realized that surviving the artifact might depend less on their ability to communicate with it and more on their ability to trust each other, or at least pretend to.